Hello everyone! We're going to be going live and in character in one moment. So the little gesture of my hand over my head means I'm speaking out of character. If you don't know what this is a part of a LARP that's administrated by Canada at Midnight and the equivalent LARP club in the United States. That's the Mind's Eye Society. We are finally going 100% in character. That means this is a real live, real broadcast that is available through a secured network currently provided by Hollywood, who's donated as a Christmas present to Cornelia. We've got a number of different people watching. You can assume for the time being, because we haven't negotiated the hows you get this, that it's available to you regardless of sect, but I'm going to do some in-character reading for it. A lot of you were super supportive of me going back to making the videos and wanted me to have a way to make them work in character. Now, if you're wondering about my makeup, you may have heard that noise a moment ago. That was my friend Sophie Ricard. She is a professional makeup artist, and to celebrate the first live broadcast, she did this gorgeous, she described it as a Galliano type makeup job, but she really captured what I was going for with the character. If this broadcast is going to be posted on YouTube afterwards, so you'll be able to get a copy of it and enjoy what's going on. Now, I'm going to go live in a moment in character, but I wanted to say a second thank you to Sophie Ricard and remind you that if you're living in Montreal and you're looking for a makeup artist to do your makeup, you can look this pretty. She can make anyone look amazing. She is the fairy godmother with a plurality of axes. If she wants to come on camera for a moment, if she's not too shy. If you are in Montreal or visiting Montreal, you can also meet her in character where she plays the lovely Bruja Primogen. That's the one who has the permission that if the meetings go over an hour, she can flip the table. Thank you, Sophie. Didn't you do an amazing job on my makeup? Look at these tiny little eyelashes. Look at this perfect pink up here. I would also like to say thank you to Christopher Eaton, who manufactured me this gorgeous tiara, again by hand. Someone got very busy with the soldering iron. He promised me that if I'm ever low on funds, I can melt it down and use the gold to pay off my gambling debts. I'm not sure who's been his informer, but I'll have to tell you that I got all those debts legitimately. I'm just not very good at picking horses, or dogs, or fighting roosters. Anyway, so I'm a little nervous because I just went through a thing where a 3,000 member club, my assistant national storyteller suggested some Christmas music. That was just a little pop-up. Unfortunately, I don't have copyright permission on any sort of music, and since this is going up on YouTube, I can't put any music in the background, because if I did that, the copyright gremlins that go sifting through things would find them. The makeup is amazing. I am going to be stealing this look. I'm going to be trying to copy it, particularly the lips, where she did this impressionist spatter, where it's just NYX in like a Marsala suede wine color underneath, and then she put a really rich, dark, velvety plum gloss on top of it with all sorts of blotting, and she even put some up here to make the eyes extra shiny. She does amazing things. All right, that's enough rambling out of me. There are 17 of you watching, which means that it's probably going to go like the other broadcasts where I think I ended up with 265 views on just one of the videos. So, take a deep breath and go in character. God rest ye merry gentlemen, let nothing you dismay. Remember Christ our Savior was born on Christmas Day to save us all from Satan's power when we have gone astray. Oh, tidings of comfort and joy, comfort and joy. Oh, tidings of comfort and joy. Good evening, everyone. I'm so pleased to see so many of you joining us. Before I go a little bit further, I've been asked to read you a little disclaimer. This broadcast is for entertainment purposes only. In no way is it meant to slander, defame, or otherwise cause a kindred to feel insulted. Permission to copy this broadcast outside of this format is strictly forbidden, and should you wish to, the cost of copying this broadcast is valued at 1 blood boon and 4 major boons. Should this broadcast be shared outside the concept of our society to persons not authorized to witness it, this is entirely your responsibility and you will be held fully liable. There is, of course, one exception to this boon lock. We expect that any member of the Justicariat or their officials may do whatever they please, because they are the Parliament of Aggravated Damage, and what they decide is law. We thank you very much for your participation in this disclaimer and suggest you enjoy these videos. By popular request, my annual Christmas speech, which I used to just give at a little party, and then turned into a little private video that I'd be sharing with my friends and family, is being shared for the first time ever with everybody. I'm going to have some special announcements that'll go into it, as well as telling you about the Christmas traditions of kindred all over North America. So bring your ghouls close and make sure that you're comfortable. So let's get started with our very Merry Christmas special. Things continue to wrap up nicely in Vancouver. If you've been following along with that, we've got a marriage coming up between Ms. Kira Mantle and Virago Nadir. He's known as Nadir, the Breaker of Chains of Vancouver. The actual union will be taking place in March, and we're looking forward to you being in attendance. We expect that Ms. Mantle will be in full form for the event. We're very happy to have many of you joining us tonight, including my liege, Lord Asher, who is the patriarch and father of the Asher family. I would also like to say a particular thank you for Holly Wood, who is responsible for these broadcasts going out to the wider world. A very modern neonate out in Orange County. She insisted on making sure that a security was provided for everyone's enjoyment. Although I would also like to say a thank you for House Nova, who will be working with me going forward for a partnership. I recognize that since assuming the practice of Montreal, I have become slightly famous, and as a result, we're working to make sure that we accurately represent all members of the Tower. So this includes not just the Camarilla, which of course I represent as a loyal member, but also to make sure that loyal Anarch voices are not lost and that we have proper representation from both aspects of a very proud clan. I'd also like to say a particular thank you for Prince Azel, or Prince Scott, depending on which reign name they prefer, who has contributed to this little project in their own way. I'm sure I'm going to have many more people to thank over the course of this. And it's a beautiful December in Montreal. Everything is covered with light, fluffy snow. You can hear the trucks desperately laboring and rumbling to go through. We had a horrible ruin of a Christmas where the Anarch organized Christmas party ended in a 3-sect brawl with everyone fighting everyone else. We think it's going to be all right, but, and I'm still having an ongoing investigation. The Scourge is no longer the Scourge. Let's see. The constable ended up warning the Independent Alliance Elder Seknet for attempting to break up the fight. The unaligned gangrel got into a fight with the Scourge. The Scourge ended up punching the sheriff. The sheriff's deputy ended up shooting the Scourge, and it somewhat went downhill from there. The exact explanation I got from Primogen Billy of the Bruja involved more expletives than I've seen packed into a single sentence. However, she was very succinct and to the point, and we look forward to completing this investigation in January. It's the holiday season, and I don't expect anything to be finished during that period. I will be shortly traveling to Los Angeles to spend time with the Everard family, my lineage, hosted by my uncle. Rumors that LA's skies are currently occupied by giant lion dirigibles can neither be confirmed or denied, but we certainly know how to celebrate an Everard Christmas. My nephew Samson will be bringing the Christmas tree this year, and he's planning on using real candles again, but we hope we don't repeat an incident of 1876 when the tree caught on fire. Now, this was easily remedied, but unfortunately 6 members of the family succumbed to their stronger instincts and fled screaming into the night. By the time we accidentally got the rest of the room put out, and that was not expected. That was because the tapestry fell over while the tree was still on fire. We'd ended up torching half the presents. This year we expect to take better safety precautions, and Samson is quite sure that it won't end in flames. There will be no people punching people at a proper Everard Christmas. It's not the only holiday celebration that's taking place this particular season. I understand that most of the lineages have their own personal little thing. It's a time to catch up with your family, to pass on that information you didn't feel comfortable sharing in letters. Perhaps you have a secret marriage, or you're involved in an elaborate plot to start a war. I'm not judging. Kindred have hobbies. But the best and the most shocking celebrations are the ones that pass into rumor and everyone gets to hear about them. Now, the first Christmas celebration, or rather a proper traditional Roman Saturnalia, was hosted by Orthia, who has one of the most stable cities in the Camarilla of North America. It was a delightful evening with all the standard traditions. Great deal of enjoyment. The LA Christmas celebration may have involved a slight excess of blood wine that was to the tastes of my uncle, and people got very... There we go! We're live again. Sorry about that. It looks like we were testing our new security service, but we're back again. It seems like we got our first hacking attempt, but it looks like the able members of the Kindred Hacking Collective put a stop to that. So we can all be very happy that our broadcast has not been interrupted. Now, it might have simply been that I mentioned that there was a Martel Merlot that was given out as one of the presents to be passed around at that Austin White Elephant. Now, I know that there's no way I can say this, but I have to get this across. I know that Black Swan has a reputation of being the most delicious of the blood wines out there, but you need to consider using a legitimate Camarilla-based brand, such as the one made by House Kensington. They have a choice, excellent blood wine. That's none of the shocking business of having a Black Swan bottle in your wine cellar. So I repeat, do not give anyone a bottle of Black Swan for the holidays. I'd also like to put to rest that shocking rumor that there were 8 bottles of Martel Merlot made out of the Prince of Trenton. There is no evidence whatsoever that it was committed by Hugo Duval. Anything that I've been given as information, and I have no information whatsoever that would be reliable, suggests that no traces were found via powers of the blood of the wanted Camarilla fugitive who is blood hunted in my city and the city of 17 other princes, previously 19 other princes, but alas, Prince of Martel of Trenton is no longer with us. However, I would wish to give congratulations to Prince Morvena Matthias of the Lissombra for taking Praxis of Trenton. Long may she rule. We know that she's in able hands, particularly after enjoying her transatlantic voyage. There are many kindred of a certain age who still have boons on record to her for a lovely voyage. I remember mine. We were attacked by the Sabbat. Now, in addition to holiday traditions, I'm getting a request. It seems that one of my cousins is asking to go live onto the broadcast. So we're just to see if this functions. Looks like we're getting all the people out. We'll see what happens when we put them live. Hopefully it won't pop us off the air again. Good gracious!
Should we not?
You're live!
Sorry, I'm not so festive. I am. I'm not quite as festive as you are this evening. But I do have proper libations.
Excellent. Excellent. I'm glad you do. As long as that's not a black swan blood wine you've got there.
No. That business at the White Elephant was dreadful, honestly.
It's almost like the awful man was present. Whew. Gives me chills just thinking about it. Did you know that he could be lurking in any city? He hates the Camarilla. He'll do nothing to stop it bringing about its destruction. The princes of the city, particularly those who've cast a blood hunt on him, should double their security. We don't want any more incidents like the one that happened in Trenton, which we have no confirmation was him, but there are certainly some very damning rumors.
What happened?
Well, rumor has it that, the Prince of Trenton at the time, a member of the Martel lineage, was, aside from the rest of the Primogen Council, he was brutally murdered. We don't currently have full information about the culprit, but I understand a Mr. Alex Marks has been tasked to head up the investigation, and we will probably be enjoying a detailed report shortly. There are rumors based on a wine glass found in the possession of the pile of ash that was left that it was a Mr. Hugo Duval, fugitive of the Camarilla and apparently subject to a wild hunt by the Sabbat. I don't know how many people managed to simultaneously be hunted two sects at once. All he needs is to get the Anarchs or the Independent Alliance in there, and he'd have a full 3 deal. He could possibly have all 4 after you, but at that point, if you're not on the red list, you're not anyone.
That's fair. No, at that point in bowling, I believe they'd call it a turkey.
Oh dear. Oh dear. Oh dear. Well, kindred holiday traditions tend to follow the cultures and practices that we had while we were alive, but there are also traditions more unique to the kindred in question. Those of a European origin are more likely to follow a Christmas, whereas those who follow a more Mediterranean origin or African are more likely to practice the Muslim faith. Eid passed before Christmas did, but many of the viziers were involved in their Festival of Lights. That is not to say, of course, the Prince of Boston, who will be enjoying a lovely and contemplative Christmas in the traditional manner. I was informed that he was Catholic, and in fact a former Bishop of Nicaea, and I was very suspicious of this, but I was reassured that he has no contact whatsoever with the official Catholic Church, and does not agree at all with anything they have done in the last 400 years. He's not a Jacobite, and for that he may be forgiven. If anyone is a Jacobite, I am afraid that we will never be friends.
I do believe that means his split from the Catholic Church predates even Martin Luther.
Indeed, but so does his embrace, so I don't think he's ever heard of this whole Protestant thing other than as being a weird and peculiar idea. There are people in my broadcast asking my cousin Rosemary to introduce herself. Would you like to introduce yourself by your name and your status for the people who are watching this broadcast?
Oh, certainly. I am Rosemary Cypress of House Everard, child of Thelonious, child of Millicent, child of...
That means that you're technically
I have
not
forgotten my status.
my cousin. That would technically mean you are my niece. If
Niece?
your
Second? Oh,
if your sire is the child of Millicent, since I am also the child of Millicent, and Millicent is the child
oh.
of Desmond Aldred, and Desmond Aldred is the child of Julia Antasia, and Julia Antasia is the child of Tenia, and Tenia is of course descended directly from Ventrue, then therefore you would be my niece.
Yes, sometimes it's very difficult to keep the family tree in line without a chart.
Yes, well, that's what we have my cousin Felicity for the purpose of doing. And cousin Felicity
Yeah.
would be one of your aunts.
Yes, she's also my niece.
There. Now, I have another
But
announcement. Yes?
no, I'm sorry. The tiara looks stunning. Go ahead with your announcement.
Thank you. I'm rather fond of the tiara myself. The announcement I have to make is that in 2 months' time, I will be retiring my praxis. Due to
I
the
say.
fact that Montreal has stabilized, we will be transitioning to a new reign over Montreal. I will be discussing further with the Court of Montreal my succession, and we will have a pleasant and peaceful handover of power, and I will be moving on to other obligations on the West Coast. This coincides with the union of Ms. Mantle with Virago Nadir, which I'm sure many of you are looking forward to attending. There is to be a grand event there. I know that Mr. Lockwood of Vancouver, of Ventrue, will be sending out invitations to this grand event on behalf of the Camarilla. He's enjoying excellent relations with the Setites and Giovanni of Vancouver. It's amazing what a few conversations will bring about. For example, the situation in Kelowna was quite confusing, with Valois, the former harpy, insisting that there was a vast conspiracy involved. Now, I went to go investigate the matter and address it with dear Prince d'Etienne, a loyal member of the Camarilla, what precisely might be happening, and well, no conspiracy was presented. At the end of a conversation with Valois, he agreed that he would resign the position of harpy, as he admitted before an honourable kindred that he had received poor information, and following the usual custom, that he will pay a visit to his luminary elder over the holiday season for some advice on how to correct his difficult diplomatic matter. It appears he's gotten himself into a tricky situation with multiple venture houses very confused at conflicting information they're receiving, but we are sure that the incomparable Archmagus and Luminary Elder Sarahat will be able to resolve his difficulties for him. Now, if you have ever been subject to one of these scandals, it is customary that when you depart your city to visit your luminary, that a stake be placed in your chest, as is the custom, and I assure you that everything is proper. He has been staked and mailed accordingly, with no violence necessary on our part. No powers of the blood were used, and no boons were cast upon our part to secure this. This is simply a matter of helping him resolve his difficulties. It can be very difficult.
That is a most interesting way to travel.
It's the traditional way of assuaging and soothing through scandal. Now, I'm very much looking forward to my move to Vancouver. I'm not sure if the Independent Alliance is aware that I'm coming into town, but they are now, as I am sure that my broadcasts will be ably watched and handed around. Now, this won't be the only broadcast that I do, but this will be a very short one. Since the news is relatively calm, there hasn't been any murders recently, at least. Everything is very soothing, with no urgency to attend to. I mean, my scourge did punch my sheriff, get shot by the sheriff's deputy. The Setite elder of the Independent Alliance did end up using powers of the blood on the constable, and the constable did end up warning the elder of the Independent Alliance. Unaligned Gangrel did attack the scourge. following the Scourge's efforts to convince them to step away from his newly embraced child, who was left improperly restrained and proceeded to murder a security guard, thus causing everyone to lose their minds and start shouting. Montreal has a tradition of shouting. They do it
Bloody
in both
hell.
official languages of Canada. You learn the most interesting local words.
Oh, I'm
For
sure a
example,
popular one in Montreal it must be merda.
usually "Callis." Brioche is having a very Merry Christmas as well. And I thought I'd talk a little bit
Oh,
about what I'm doing for Christmas. Now, before I finish this broadcast, I'm going to need to make sure that I check over if Alan has completed the boxes for people. Everyone who is currently my retainer or otherwise considered to be in a position subservient to myself, outside, of course, the regular court. I don't have to give the Primogen boxes. They don't need a gift for Boxing Day. Receives a traditional Christmas box. This means that they receive a full suit of clothing, or the means by which to make it, as it's also traditional to give fabrics and threads and materials. And if applicable, and they still have a pulse, I usually prefer to give them a lovely clementine. I originally gave oranges, but I find clementines are so much the more sweeter. They smell wonderful. So that means
agree.
that the various persons, particularly my vassals, there will be Christmas boxes going out. I'm not spoiling the surprise. It's traditional. You know, you get it every year. And there are presents for my family, which they will get to experience when I arrive in Los Angeles. Now, I don't have anything to top the dirigible. Hopefully this won't go like last year when Holland ended up chasing Brioche up a tree. Now, Brioche is a racing corgi, so she does have her little legs on her, but Holland can be very frightening to my poor little dog. That's all right. Holland's just stern. He takes after Uncle. He's a bit sore about what happened to those $2,000 loafers of yours that you decided to liberate. It's all right. They look better with the holes in them anyway. That's all. You're a good girl. You're a good girl. Now, it's quite likely that Brioche will be returning to the racing circuit once her puppies are a little bit older. Although I'm afraid that she did get put quite out of the running for this year. But the puppies are lovely, even if they quite spoiled my breeding program. Either way, it will be a lovely holiday season. I thought that there was one other thing that I should mention. There is a rant taking place. These are a proud tradition of the Bruja. They are a gathering from far and wide of all Bruja who are invited, which is usually literally all of them, to gather and shove and shout and exchange ideas for the directions and feelings of the Bruja clan. Now, some of you may not be aware, but over the course of my long unlife, I have been married twice to Bruja, so I'm very familiar with their culture.
Perhaps then
I
you can
imagine it
help
was
me.
my best advice in that particular situation. If you feel like saying yes, punch him. If you feel like saying no, ignore him. But if you punch him, that is how he knows you're interested. That is how Bruja confirm whether or not the answer is yes. Remember, if you're going to punch, square your knuckles off. Your fortitude means you probably won't break your hand, so it's still acceptable to hit them in the head, whereas normally you'd be going for a body blow. And that's what the ghouls should be doing. No punching people in the head. You'll break your hand if you're not wearing a glove. But yes, if you wish to indicate that you agree with him, the appropriate response is a very short punch like that, or if you're showing particularly fond affections, like so. Don't slap him. That will send confusing mixed messages. Just a proper squared knuckled punch, and he'll understand exactly your feelings on the matter.
Interesting. Quite.
If you're
Sorry,
not
I was just making
interested,
sure that all the flights are arranged.
The appropriate etiquette is to set him on fire. I always found that that was the best way of dealing with an unwanted suitor.
Oh my.
It really gets the message across. Now, maybe it's old-fashioned, but in my day, when a woman wasn't interested, she doused you in kerosene and then threw the rest of the lamp on you. It really got your point across.
Yes, and I'm sure it was a very interesting display.
I only had to do it 3 times. He got the message after that.
It is interesting that you had to do it 3 times to get the message across.
Bruja. They're persistent.
That is very fair.
So, if you
Yes,
happen to be a
he.
Bruja, you might be interested in Sigrid's Chicago rant. Otherwise, I'm going to open the floor to Christmas questions, and then we'll be signing off. The method of deterring unwanted suitors via kerosene and fire? Yes, I would say that it works on most unwanted suitors. If all else fails and you're dealing with a suitor with fortitude, I'm told that white phosphorus is the appropriate means of dissuading an unwanted suitor. It's particularly effective on Setites. Not that I would know anything about wanting a Setite to please go away.
Or if you're looking for something that burns a little hotter, thermite.
Thermite is a
It's
good point.
normally used for welding railroads.
Do you think I could get thermite size to fit into a handbag?
I don't see why not. It is
Is
normally
it possible
sold in
to manufacture it into a
a
grenade?
sand. Well, it's not explosive. It just burns very hotly.
But this would be a very useful substance. Maybe I need like a little bag of thermite with an igniter. This sounds like an excellent thing for every woman to have in her wardrobe with her. You know, when I was still a young neonate, it used to be that you would have these giant pockets on the undersides of your dress. They'd be attached by a little band around your waist, and sometimes that band would snap and you'd lose your pocket. But they were very convenient. You could put all manner of items in them, small bombs, little dogs. These days, if I want to have pockets, I need to install them myself in my clothing or order a member of my household to do it for me. But yes, we're going to open the floor to questions. As I see, I've got quite a few of you watching, including the thrice-favored Karma. Don't all
No,
speak at
comma. I
once.
don't think I'll be using thermite. I do not think I will be using thermite on brick. That would probably go over very poorly in the next gathering.
I have
Any
received a
fire in the next gathering would go over poorly.
I've received a rather appalling question from an anonymous person. So is a Stokely Sauvignon Blanc still this season's stocking stuffer? There is this bizarre obsession with blood wines produced by Mr. Hugo Duval. His attack on the Prince of Connecticut was a shocking display. You will not trade in such blood wines, and it is not the rarest of possible gifts that one might receive by the most shocking and naughty but fashion-forward elders. That is an appalling thing to believe. No black swan under the Christmas tree, none in the stockings, none in special gold-wrapped bottles, none in collectible cups, no black swan wine. Buy the Kensington wine. It's much better. It's not flirting with heresy, and you're not going to offend formerly 19 princes, now 18. Trying
Yes,
to
that
encourage
did
Mr.
appear to be the
Duval.
most. Sorry, I know there is a lag.
Yes, it does get in the way of venture etiquette.
Yes. No, I know the Black Swan wine was a very spoken about gift at the White Elephant celebration in Austin.
I have a request for an individual conversation with someone. If you're looking to reach out to me, you can contact my life sworn retainer, Alan, via the following email address, where he will be able to direct comments accordingly. Or alternatively, Alan manages contacts for myself using the following phone number. Of course, those who have been introduced to me, or elders of such high status, have understandable access to myself, as is their right, and I look forward to correspondences with such persons, but for all other persons, Alan ably manages all my communications. Now, do we have any more questions before I sign off this broadcast? Other than some wonderful love advice from the wonderful Ms. Karma regarding what precisely this Mr. Brick feels about scars, it looks like we're coming to the end of our little holiday broadcast. I'd like to thank you all for joining me and getting updated on the news. I'm sure Prince Sigrid is looking forward to seeing the Brujah that are attending her rant, as well as the surprising quantity of Ventru. For a clan that's supposed to be in rivalry, three-quarters of the guest list of persons not of the Brujah clan appear to be of the clan of kings. I think that we may have a tiny little problem with our rivalry. Now, I've never personally taken the rivalry very seriously. I think the Brujah are one of the most valuable parts of the Camarilla. They are a pillar clan, and they deserve that status. But it appears that I'm not alone in that feeling. It appears that our relations with the Brujah are excellent. And yes, Miss Karma, I do look forward to seeing you at the rant. If you don't mind, I'll supply the blood eggnog. It's a Ventru peculiarity. Unfortunately, I'm somewhat picky about what I can put in my mouth. I know we all have our drawbacks. Some people have no reflection. Some people are soft and fuzzy in places. Ventru are picky eaters. We adjust. We learn to adapt. So that looks like that.
And sorry, dear Cornelia, allow me to thank you for allowing me to guest on your delightful holiday special.
Thank you, niece.
It's been quite a treat.
We'll be having guests from other clans making an appearance. If you're interested in popping up in one of my live casts, just make sure that you reach out to Alan and he'll arrange your presence. We may just be able to get a Madame Tonnerre at some point soon. And I'm hoping we'll get some of the other celebrities of the Camarilla or the Anarch movement making their appearance as well. So I'll be wishing you all a happy holidays, whether you're a vizier who celebrates Eid or one of the variants of Christmas, a traditionalist who practices Yule, Saturnalia, or possibly just someone who celebrates New Year's, or whether you're of a, shall we say, Scrooge-like persuasion and prefer to spend the season scowling at a corner. We hope that you have a wonderful period of long nights. And just as a reminder, if you're worried about the masquerade, taking a little thermos with you full of hot water and swishing it in your mouth periodically is an excellent way of preserving that plume of breath. It's certainly a lot more pleasant than all of us taking up smoking. It was an interesting last couple of centuries, but it was a terrible idea. It left the nastiest stains on your teeth. And besides, a woman smoking in public is not the best behavior.
One moment, I'll show you something I've been using that is better than taking up smoking. Please excuse the sudden change in background. This little technological pen. Sorry, it's blinking. Give me just a moment, I'll finish it up. It was charging. This little pen does not leave the same stains that smoking once did on the teeth, and it still preserves that delightful plume, though some have associated it with uncouth behavior. See.
That does indeed produce quite the plume, and is another good way of making sure you can get out and about in winter. Remember that this period around the solstice, but just before everything closes down from the holidays, is a great way to renew your driver's license and other identification forms, where it's possible to get a last-minute invitation with many government offices and sit down for those photos on identification. Takes less influence, everything gets much easier around the holidays. And if you're not sure what gifts to get the elders in your life, getting some manufactured mortal identities for them is always a pleaser when they find it under the tree or in their stocking. Alternatively, one can always give literal white elephants. That concludes my broadcast, and I look forward to seeing you next week when I'll be talking about the upcoming Bruja rant and the conclusion of 2017. Then, and of course, the importance of why lying is the most ethical behavior if you're a kindred. Okay, great. This was the first of the honest to God, this is the out of character hand sign. This was one of the first honest to God out of character. Yes, you can also do fingers crossed. There's also llama for when somebody's there, but they had to get up to go do something, like to answer the phone, to call the sitter, or to go to the washroom. I like llama. But the hand of the head means out of character. This was the first of the honest, no fooling, no complications, in character broadcasts where there's an actual video. It is on a secured server that is statted, that if you insist on trying to hack, you can contact me in my, well, you contact my VST. It will probably get more secure as we keep rolling, because several people have indicated an interest in this. If you want to be featured on the broadcast...
Hi, awesome computers.
Yes, that is part of my security team in clan and in my lineage. We have a lot of people who are interested. Out of character, if you're super interested in taking part in one of these broadcasts, I really encourage you to make your own. The National has been really cooperative to how to create these things. The only reason why there was a huge fuss about mine was because they got super popular, so people were starting to react to them in character. So we needed to have some sort of explanation of what was going on. I have to change my hand because my hand was starting to fall asleep. That's not because National is a bunch of big meanies. That's because National is running a 3,000 person club that's attached to my 300 person club. And they have a lot to wrangle. And my New Year's resolution is whenever I have a clever idea, the first thing I'm going to do is tell my National storyteller now it's going to stop being the last part of the process. As we've had a couple of incidents now where I've come up with a brilliant, wonderful idea and it's ended in global applications and conversations with the entire National storytelling team. As I was saying, if you're interested in being featured in one of these broadcasts, feel free to reach out to me out of character and work something out. This includes if you're doing something that's conflict related. I like doing these broadcasts and I like including people, so I'm very likely to agree to some sort of mediation based, I've hacked the broadcast so you can pop in and share your terrible message or whatever. I really like guest appearances, like my niece Rosemary. Now I'm calling you cousin too. My niece Rosemary. The eye makeup, by the way, was done by my friend Sophie, who's been watching the whole thing and being entertained by the ridiculousness of it all. She's a professional makeup artist who's been in a number of different movies, and she's done the Just for Laughs Festival. If you've seen the LARPs series, which you possibly have, she was responsible for... No, she wasn't. No. Okay, I got her confused with someone else.
Somewhat involved.
She was somewhat involved, but not responsible for everything. But that's she's capable of doing everything from gorgeous monster makeup to making you look like $1 million for your wedding or your New Year's party. She's less likely to do weddings than New Year's parties because she kind of hates weddings, but she's amazing. And if you're in the Montreal area, even if you're coming in for a LARP, she's very worth hiring, because whether you want to look like the most horrifying Nosferatu ever, or whether you want to look like the prettiest pretty princess, she can do it. She knows what she's doing, and she has a million different looks in her head. She's also super calming and soothing about it, and when she does your makeup, if you pay attention to what she's doing, she describes what she's doing, and she's the reason why I know how. She also runs classes in Montreal teaching people how. She does them for adults, she does them for teenagers, and I know she recently actually did one for a clinic for... No?
I can't talk about it.
Okay. Okay, there might be a disclosure agreement on that. Sorry! Lots and lots of secrets. Sorry, we're under boons and we can't talk about that. Okay, so I think I covered everything. If you need to attack the videos, you should talk to my VST and they'll work out that. They should be coming out on a schedule of once a week. I'll be talking from the perspective of in character about stuff that's relevant to the game. You get your global and your local news depending on where I'm living. I'm going to be moving to Vancouver in 2 months, all going well. So that means I'm not going to be Princess Cornelia anymore, but that's okay. I'm still going to be Cornelia and you're still going to have to deal with me.
You should get your makeup artist friend sucked into the world of LARP.
She is.
It's
She's learning
very
how primitive.
addictive. Oh, well, fancy.
Yeah, she's been doing LARPing longer than I have.
Ah,
I'm going to assume that everyone knows I'm out of character, so I'm going to take my hands down. One of the things that National asked me to do, if you're going to do a broadcast and it's not in character, even if it's a funny sarcasm thing, for your broadcast, put your this is not in character at the beginning of your broadcast and put it at the end of your broadcast. And if you feel like helping people, put little reminders in the middle as well. This is just because with these live broadcasts, people pop on and off. So if you still want to do your satire broadcasts where you're doing it from the perspective of what your character would think, but they never do that, you can do that. If you want to do it in character, please do it in character. It's wonderful. Everyone loves the broadcast. And I want to talk about something else. There's a couple of people who said they're thinking about doing a broadcast, but they're afraid of stealing my thing. That's not how it works. More art is good. I love you. Please take my idea. I'll be flattered. If you still think of it as my idea, take it, use it, do it. Do a broadcast. Do a broadcast just like mine. Do your own special broadcast. I love you. I want you to do these ideas. This is great. LARP is a collaborative team sport. It's not about Cornelia being the most important person ever. It's about everyone having fun and participating. And if you do broadcast and you tell me about it, when I put it on YouTube, if you put yours on YouTube too, I will link to it and make sure that people can be aware and promote it with the massive amounts of attention I get. For example, there's already a Keeping Up with the Kensingtons broadcast out there. I know the person who plays Hollywood will occasionally do broadcasts showing how she does her makeup, both everyday fancy evening makeup, and she's sometimes done her like monstrous Nosferatu special effects. Really go on, make a broadcast. It's wonderful. Shortly I'm going to download this broadcast and then I'm going to put it live on YouTube. There'll be a channel there where you can see everything. The word from National about the last broadcast is that anything you see there, you can still use in character and you can attribute it to Cornelia, but this is the first one where there's a real video. So I think that rounds off pretty much everything, and thanks for joining me for this lovely live cast. We'll see you all on next week. When, like I said, I will talk about why you must lie. Besos!